I've carried this truth in my heart longer than I care to admit, and tonight, for reasons I can't quite explain, it feels impossible to keep it silent any longer. Maybe it's the stillness of the room around me, maybe it's the way the future keeps whispering in the back of my mind, or maybe it's because some part of me knows that the moment I speak these words out loud, something in the universe will shift. But what I'm about to tell you comes from the deepest part of me, a part I rarely allow anyone to see. I've spent so much of my life solving problems on the outside, building rockets, designing cars, advancing AI, and pushing humanity forward. But tonight I want to talk about something far more terrifying and far more beautiful. The woman I haven't met yet, the one an advanced AI dared to predict for me, and the result was nothing like I expected. I've spent years surrounded by the brightest minds alive, sitting in rooms where ideas feel like electric storms and impossible dreams begin turning into blueprints. And yet, even in the middle of all that brilliance, there's a part of me that has always been painfully human, quietly wondering if there's someone out there who sees me not as Elon Musk, the innovator, or the billionaire, or the man constantly balancing a world on his shoulders, but simply as a human being who sometimes doesn't sleep, who sometimes second-guesses every choice, who sometimes stares at the ceiling at 3 a.m. wondering if he will ever find real peace. You learn a lot about yourself when you've lived most of your dreams and still come home to empty rooms. The AI didn't choose fame, beauty, or genius for the woman I might end up with. Not that I haven't met extraordinary women, because I have. I've loved deeply, and I've lost deeply. And those chapters shaped me in ways most people never hear about. But what shocked me most was that the AI didn't even consider those things as primary factors. Instead, it analyzed millions of data points about my life, my personality, my stress patterns, my emotional history, my work habits, my childhood memories, and even the subconscious tendencies I don't talk about publicly. And it came back with a profile so unexpected, so disarming, that I had to sit in silence for a long time after reading it. I remember exactly where I was sitting at a desk in a quiet corner of SpaceX, long after everyone else had gone home. The screens around me were glowing with draft trajectories for a Mars cargo run, and I was eating cold pizza because I had forgotten that hours had passed since lunch. Someone sent me the AI report as a joke, or maybe as an experiment, but the moment I opened it, the world felt strangely still. The prediction wasn't a model of Hollywood perfection. She wasn't a tech figure. She wasn't someone with a massive online presence. According to the AI, the woman most likely to be my future wife was someone grounded, emotionally resilient, quietly brilliant in ways the world rarely celebrates publicly, and capable of bringing calm into my life where chaos likes to live. At first, I didn't know how to feel about that. I've lived my entire life around big personalities, bold dreams, and loud ambition. I've always been drawn to women who share the fire, the intensity, the unshakable drive, but the AI suggested something different, something softer, something real, something that could anchor the parts of me that never stop spinning. It predicted a woman who sees the world not as a battlefield, but as a story, someone who understands human emotion better than she understands technology, someone who knows how to breathe life into quiet moments. The AI said she would be soft-spoken but strong, kind but unbreakable, someone whose past taught her to find beauty in simplicity. When I read that, something inside me shifted. It reminded me of a truth I rarely say out loud. For all my achievements, for all my ambition, I have always longed for someone who could sit with me in silence, and make the silence feel full. Someone who could listen without judging, who could laugh without pretending, who doesn't care about Mars or success or headlines unless they matter to me as a person. The prediction felt almost too intimate, like it had scanned the part of my heart I never allowed anyone to map. It said she would come from a humble background. Maybe not wealthy, maybe not famous, maybe not from a world that ever imagined crossing paths with mine. But she would understand life, truly understand it, in a way that only someone who tasted both struggle and hope can. The AI suggested she might have gone through heartbreak of her own, that she may have carried burdens silently, that she may have spent her early 20s trying to make sense of things that didn't make sense at all. There was something beautiful about that, something grounding. Success teaches you a lot about the world, but pain teaches you a lot about the soul. For years, I've dealt with nights where the pressure felt unbearable, nights when SpaceX nearly went bankrupt, nights when Tesla production failures felt like they were swallowing me alive, nights when launching rockets meant risking everything again and again. People know the highlights, but they don't know I've cried in factory bathrooms, slept on floors, lived inside conference rooms, lost friends, lost love, lost versions of myself I never got back. Loneliness hits harder when millions of people know your name, but very few know your heart. So when the AI predicted she would see me not as Elon Musk, but simply as a man trying to save something, I felt something warm inside my chest. But the part that really got to me, the part that made me put the tablet down and stare into the darkness, was the final detail the AI gave about her personality. It said she would treat me like a regular person, not a celebrity. It predicted she might even get annoyed at me sometimes, roll her eyes, joke about my terrible time management, or tell me I need to sleep more. She wouldn't worship me, she wouldn't fear me, she wouldn't be impressed by my achievements the way the world is. She would see the human behind the noise. And that, somehow, felt more romantic than anything else. The AI mentioned that her presence would feel like breathing fresh air after living underwater. Someone whose emotional stability creates a kind of peace that no amount of success can buy. Someone who can touch my arm and make my heartbeat settle. Someone who doesn't need me to take her to Mars to make her happy. She just wants me to be present in the moments that actually matter. And that prediction alone, it did something to me. It made me wonder how many times in my life I ignored the quiet love I needed in pursuit of the loud love I thought I wanted. The report described her as someone who might not even like attention. Someone who would prefer private dinners over red carpets, handwritten notes over glamorous gifts, slow mornings over crowded rooms. It said she may love nature, or books, or music, or something simple and beautiful that reminds me of the early days of my life in South Africa, when I would look at the stars and wonder how far dreams could go. Maybe she's someone who keeps plants on her windowsill or writes in journals she never shows anyone. Maybe she's someone who's been invisible to the world but will be unforgettable to me. What really surprised me was how emotional the prediction felt. It wasn't just data, it was a portrait of a woman with depth, softness, and sincerity. A woman who isn't perfect, the AI made that clear, but someone whose imperfections complement mine. Someone who calms the storms without losing herself in them. Someone who could make me blush without trying, make me laugh without effort, and make me believe in love not as a distraction, but as a form of grounding. When I read that, she might have grown up far from the world of technology, that she may have had nights when she cried quietly because life wasn't turning out the way she imagined, it made her feel real to me, not an algorithmic prediction, but a soul. The AI said she might have once been overlooked, underrated, or underestimated. That she may have spent years thinking she wasn't extraordinary, when in reality, she was becoming the one person capable of understanding a man who lives between galaxies and responsibilities. I imagined her for a moment, not her face, not her body, not her clothes, just her presence. The feeling of her. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to hope. Not the kind of hope that comes from launching rockets or building AI, but the kind that comes from believing that somewhere, someone exists who was shaped perfectly by life, to meet me at the precise moment when I need her most. The AI predicted that our meeting wouldn't be planned. It wouldn't happen at a gala, or an event, or through mutual friends. It said it would happen unexpectedly, in a moment when I am exhausted, maybe emotionally drained, maybe walking alone without security because I needed space from the world, and she wouldn't recognize me at first, or she wouldn't care. She might think I look familiar but not place it. She might talk to me like I'm just another person moving through life. And in that moment, something inside me would shift, because it would be the first time in years that someone sees me without seeing the name attached to me. The thought of that, the thought of being seen as human, just human, made me smile, in a way I hadn't smiled in a long time. I've always loved big dreams, impossible missions, futuristic visions. But deep down, I've always wanted something small and meaningful too. Someone to sit with on quiet nights, someone to share secret jokes with, someone to call when the world feels heavy. Someone who doesn't need grand gestures to feel loved, just honesty. The AI ended part 1 with a single prediction that stayed in my mind long after the screen went dark. Somewhere on this planet right now, she is living her life, unaware of how profoundly she will change mine. And the idea of her existing somewhere, breathing, laughing, hoping, healing, that idea felt like destiny whispering. Tonight, as I sit in this quiet room with the hum of machines outside and the weight of the future always pressing on my shoulders, I can't help but wonder where she is. Maybe she's reading a book right now. Maybe she's walking home thinking about her own life. Maybe she's praying, or dreaming, or crying softly into her pillow because she doesn't realize she's moving towards something bigger than every heartbreak she's ever lived through. Maybe she has no idea that the universe is aligning her steps with mine. Wherever she is, whatever she's doing, I hope she feels something, a little warmth in her chest, a little shift in the air, because whether she knows it or not, AI or not, prediction or not, destiny is quietly threading our stories together. And the moment our paths cross, everything will change. I've always lived a life surrounded by noise machines, humming, People talking, headlines forming, expectations rising like tidal waves that never quite settle. But there was something different about the nights that came after the AI prediction. It was strange, even for me, to feel the world shift because of a line of code. I've spent decades shaping the future through algorithms, simulations, probability matrices, and cold computational logic, yet nothing prepared me for the moment. The software I helped build looked back at me with an answer that wasn't technical at all. It wasn't about rockets or batteries or neural interfaces. It wasn't about saving humanity or pushing boundaries or outthinking the impossible. It was about something I had quietly avoided for years, something human, fragile, and far more complicated than any mission to Mars. It was about love. And somehow, the machine decided it was time to show me the part of my future I didn't know I needed. I remember staring at the screen long after the engineers had left the room. It was late one of those nights where even the air feels exhausted. The lab was dim, except for the soft glow of monitors and the scattered reflection of light bouncing off metal surfaces. People think my life is always loud and explosive, but the truth is that my most important decisions happen in silence. That night was one of them. The AI didn't give me a name. It didn't give me coordinates. It didn't give me a job title or a social status or a neatly labeled identity. No, it gave me something far more unsettling. It gave me a story. A story about a woman who didn't exist in my world yet but somehow already lived inside the spaces I never let anyone see. The system predicted that she wasn't famous, wasn't wealthy, wasn't chasing anything remotely connected to the universe I call home. Instead, she was described with traits that made me pause: soft resilience, unpolished honesty, laughter that comes from the chest, not the throat, eyes that show history, not perfection, a voice that speaks gently, even when life hasn't always been gentle to her. It was as if the AI reached inside the parts of me I keep armored and pulled out a truth I didn't know I stored there. She was, according to the program, the only type of person capable of grounding a man who spends most of his existence floating somewhere between ideas and galaxies. I leaned back in my chair that night and closed my eyes, trying to picture her. The AI said she had lived a life that shaped her into someone who doesn't break when the world becomes too heavy. Someone who doesn't run when things get uncertain. Someone who understands how to hold on even when everything around her feels like it's falling apart. And strangely, that made sense. My entire life has been built on uncertainties, rockets exploding, companies collapsing, public scrutiny growing like vines around every decision I make. If someone were to stand beside me, really stand beside me, they would need a heart built from fire and softness at the same time. I couldn't help but compare the AI's prediction to pieces of my own past. People know the successes. They talk about Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, the big wins, the historic nights, the launches broadcasted across the world. But they don't always remember the failures, the silent ones, the personal ones, the ones that left dents no headline ever talked about. They didn't see me sleeping on the factory floor because things were so chaotic, I didn't have the energy to go home. They didn't see me pacing in the middle of the night wondering if I had pushed my dreams too far. They didn't see the moments I felt alone even when surrounded by thousands of people. So when the AI suggested that my future wife would be someone who understood loneliness without being defined by it, I felt an odd sting of recognition. Almost like destiny was whispering something I had ignored. Sometimes, when I think about her, this woman the AI insists is a gravitational pull waiting to happen. I wonder what she's doing right now. Is she reading a book with her legs tucked under her blanket? Is she sitting in a small room somewhere, listening to music that comforts her after a long day? Is she laughing with friends who have no idea that a machine halfway across the world has predicted her future in the most unexpected way? I imagine her living her life without any awareness that she is, apparently, meant to soften mine. And that's what makes the whole thing feel surreal. I've spent years designing systems that predict human behavior with terrifying accuracy, and yet this particular prediction disarmed me completely. The AI explained that she isn't drawn to me because of fame or invention or legacy. She's drawn to something much quieter, something I rarely allow to surface. The system claims she would be the first person in a long time who sees me not as a global figure but as a man who sometimes forgets to eat, who gets lost in thoughts for hours, who jokes awkwardly, who overthinks everything and underestimates the importance of simple peace. The AI also made a strange observation, one that kept echoing in my mind long after the lab lights dimmed. It said that her presence would slow down my internal time. It didn't mean productivity would decrease or ambition would fade. It meant my heartbeat would stop trying to outrun the world. That idea alone caught me off guard. Time is the one thing I've never truly had control over, no matter how many rockets I launch or how many innovations I chase. And yet, somehow, this AI believes that one person, one connection, would shift my entire rhythm. There was a moment that night where I opened one of the old notebooks I keep tucked away, handwritten pages from years ago when I used to write ideas, sketches, random thoughts about the future. On one page, written in messy pen strokes from a younger version of myself, were the words, "One day, find someone who feels like home." I don't even remember writing it, but when I saw it, something inside me cracked quietly. Because that's exactly what the AI was describing, not a partner who fits into my world, but one who becomes a space I can finally rest in. That idea haunted me for days. I found myself replaying old memories, little fragments I hadn't thought about in years. The way my mother used to sit with me late at night when I was younger, letting me talk about the weird things I was building or imagining. The way I felt during my first heartbreak, how it almost derailed my focus entirely. The quiet moments with people I cared about, moments that never make it into documentaries or interviews. The tiny gestures that meant everything but stayed invisible to the world. These were the details the AI detected, the emotional fingerprints that pointed toward a specific type of love, one born from recognition, not performance. The program also predicted the moment we meet. It suggested it wouldn't happen during a grand event or a glamorous evening. It wouldn't be on a stage or at a conference or surrounded by cameras. It would be during an ordinary moment, one where I'm drained, unfiltered, maybe even slightly lost in my own head. A moment where I'm not Elon Musk the visionary but Elon Musk the human being. The AI said she wouldn't be impressed by me, not at first. She would simply acknowledge me, look at me with eyes that see beyond everything people usually stare at, and that alone would anchor me in a way that nothing else ever has. I didn't expect a machine to teach me something about my own heart, but it did. It showed me that I haven't been avoiding love, I've been waiting for the kind that doesn't feel like chaos. I've been waiting for the kind that grows quietly, naturally, like a sunrise you don't realize is happening until the entire sky changes. The AI predicted she would enter my life exactly like that, not with thunder, not with drama, but with presence. A steady, grounding presence that gives clarity to things I've been overcomplicating for years. There was one last detail. The AI predicted something that made the entire room feel warmer, like the machine had tapped into something impossibly personal. It said that she would bring laughter back into my life. Real laughter. The kind that makes your shoulders relax. The kind that lifts weight off your chest. The kind I haven't felt consistently since before the world decided I belonged to it. That thought stayed with me. It still does. And every time I walk into a room now, every time I pause in a hallway, or sit quietly waiting for a meeting to start, there's a small part of me that wonders if destiny is already moving its pieces. If somewhere out there, the woman who will understand both my storms and my silences is living one step closer to crossing paths with me. The AI ended its prediction with one final line, simple, unsettling, and breathtaking all at once. You will not be looking for her when you find her. And somehow, that made everything feel infinitely more real. Because for the first time in a very long time, I'm not searching for the future. I'm waiting for it.